The title of the message today is called Cursed Outside the Camp. Cursed Outside the Camp. And it's continuing in our study of Galatians, and the two verses, or three actually, verses that I want to go over today are Galatians chapter 3, verses 10 through 12. And hopefully some of the Old Testament cross-references will make some sense to you this morning. Galatians chapter 3, verses 10 through 12. For as many as are of the works of the law, these are under a curse. For it is written, Cursed is everyone who does not continue in all the things which are written in the book of the law to do them. But that no one is justified by the law in the sight of God is clear, for the just shall live by faith. But the law is not of faith, but the man who does these things shall live in them. And then in Galatians chapter 3, verses 13 through 14, Christ redeemed us from the curse of the law, being made a curse for us. For it is written, Cursed is everyone having been hanged on a tree, so that the blessing of Abraham might be to the nations in Jesus Christ, and that we would receive the promise of the Spirit through faith. It's very easy to say in Christianity that, well, Jesus died for my sins. And we usually have a tendency to just think in terms of physicality. Okay, he had nails driven through his hands, and a spear into his side, and a nail into his feet, and the thorns on his head. And they spat upon him, and they mocked him, and he was up there naked, just hanging there in that shame before people. But I think all too often we forget that Jesus said, my God, what? Why have you forsaken me? His real concern was not, oh, I'm physically naked before all these people, though that was awful. Or, oh, the agony of this pain, that was awful. But the Bible said he was cursed. He was made a curse for us so that we would become his righteousness. He was cursed. Cursed from God is what the Bible teaches, and we're going to find out about this. In Deuteronomy chapter 21, we read these words. If a man has committed a sin worthy of death, and if he is put to death and you hang him on a tree, his body shall not remain all night on the tree, but you shall surely bury him that day. For he that is hanged is cursed of God, so that your land would not be defiled, which the Lord your God gives you for an inheritance. Well, the Bible says Christ has redeemed us from the curse of the law, being made a curse for us, as it is written. Cursed is everyone having been hanged on a tree. But what's fascinating to me is it says, if a man has committed a sin worthy of death, and he's put to death and you hang him on a tree, his body shall not remain on that tree, but you shall bury him that day, for he that is hanged is accursed of God. That is how God the Father regarded Jesus Christ for you and for me. He looked upon Jesus as accursed. He looked upon Jesus as that one who had committed a sin worthy of death. Though we know Christ did not sin, that is how God regarded him. You are cursed from me. You are separated from me. I have forsaken you because you have become everything unholy and profane that all of us had become. We were unholy and profane and despised. We were sheep having gone astray. We were, as we saw 3 or 4 weeks ago, we were maggots in the sight of God, as Job says. The Bible says the heavens are not pure in his sight. How much more abominable and filthy is man, which drinks iniquity like water. You think about that for a moment. That's how committed to sin and self we were. We drank it like water. The Bible says the heart is deceitful above all things and what? Desperately wicked. So we drank iniquity like water. We were starving for sin, starving for self, starving for self-righteousness. We loved it. We craved it. We lusted after it. And Jesus says, I want to take their place. They are cursed from you, Father. They are cursed from you, and I want to become the curse so that they would not be cursed. You know, the Bible uses the word anathema in the New Testament. And the Bible says that Christ became anathema, cursed from God. I don't think we understand the gravity in professing Christendom these days. These days you can go to a conference and they can tell you a lot about how to live your life, and they can tell you a lot about how to be successful, tell you a lot about how to have good societal relationships. And yet, conspicuously, what happened on the cross seems to be lacking in the vast majority of, quote, evangelical circles and even in evangelical messages. We don't understand the magnitude of what it meant for Christ to be cursed. It's part of the gospel